Never get no as an answer with this book that will show you how to sway every situation in your favor. Envision yourself harnessing the power of dark psychology, understanding the strategy employed by master manipulators throughout history, and using this knowledge to positively shape outcomes in your favor.
Hello, this is Eric Holt, and you are listening to Mind Control: Learn Proven Strategies and Techniques to Master Manipulation, Emotional Influence, and Persuasion using Body Language, Dark Psychology, Hypnosis, How to Analyze People, and NLP Secrets, provided to you by United Audiobooks. I hope you enjoy my audiobook. Now, let us begin.
Introduction. Are you aiming to uncover the secrets of and understand the world of dark psychology, manipulation, and mind control? Do you want to be more adept at controlling the mind and manipulating people? It could be that you want to learn about these particular areas of dark psychology since you want to defend yourself from manipulative, toxic, and dangerous people. Or you may just be aiming to expand and widen your knowledge in this field so you can begin to practice and apply manipulation strategies subtly to benefit not only your personal life but also your relationships. If you find yourself in the mentioned situations, then this book about mind control, manipulation, and dark psychology can contribute a lot to your attempt to learn more about this somewhat mysterious field. Mind control and dark psychology are such wide topics, and controversial ones at that, as those involve having to stick and consider ethical standards. This is the primary reason why you should first learn and understand every bit of detail about this topic. Practice it only after gaining a full understanding of the topic. This will also promote ease in spotting or detecting someone who may be using dark psychology against you. Basically, mind control can be defined as a system consisting of influences capable of causing significant disruption at the core of a person as well as their identity, including their preferences, behaviors, values, decisions, and relationships. Some say that it is unethical, but only if practiced with the goal of hurting or endangering someone. You can still use it for good, such as when defending yourself from actual manipulators or helping yourself or the people you know to overcome a sort of addiction. The key to making it work for you is to learn about how to use it ethically and with certain restrictions to guarantee that it won't end up harming and hurting someone. To ensure that you get to practice dark psychology and mind control responsibly and safely, you need a comprehensive guide, like this book. Through this book, every question you have about dark psychology will be answered. You will be enlightened on its many facets, especially mind control and persuasion. The tips and techniques you will learn here will surely help perfect your knowledge and skills in this field, thereby boosting your chance of practicing it responsibly and spotting someone who is attempting to harm you through it. Let's begin. Understanding the workings of the mind and the implications of mind control. Are you aiming to develop that incredible ability to manage and control your own mind and maybe that of others when the situation calls for it? Then you should know that full and complete awareness of what is exactly going inside the human brain is extremely important. You have to be really curious about the major components of your skull, even if you don't work as a neuroscientist or neurosurgeon. You may look at the human brain as a complex thing, but the fact that you also have one makes learning about it and understanding its structure and functions all the more interesting. So how does the mind work? For starters, it's highly recommended to look at the human mind and its structure in a simplified manner. That way, its operations and functions will be easier to understand. Visualize that your head has a PC inside, which tends to control all the things you do no matter how trivial. In that case, you can classify the human brain as the hardware, which refers to the physical box. This means that it holds every power connection, memory, storage, processing power, and wiring necessary for you to function well as a person. The fact that your brain works as the hardware means that your mind can be identified as the software. In other words, your mind refers to the operating system responsible for gathering information and storing and managing it with the help of your brain's huge processing resources. With that explanation, It is safe to say that the mind and brain can't live on their own. They should not be separated. This means that they belong to a similar entity, and you can't expect one of them to work without the other. Note that the mind also features two major aspects, the conscious and the unconscious. Conscious. Generally, the conscious mind of humans compose 10% or less of the total operational power of the mind. Based on its name, it is safe to assume that it operates and functions when you are conscious. It is responsible for a lot of brain functions, among which are the following: data gathering and examining and processing your collected data, searching for patterns and doing comparisons, giving orders, making decisions, letting you give out thoughtful responses to certain situations instead of giving out a knee-jerk reaction, regulating short-term memory. If your unconscious mind thinks of something, it is safe to say that it is intentional, which means that you are fully conscious and aware of it. Unconscious. Your unconscious mind encompasses the remaining 90%. A key fact about the unconscious mind is that it is somewhat inaccessible. The reason is that you have no conscious awareness and knowledge of how it works and operates. You don't even know what goes inside there. Despite that, you still have an assurance of the immense power that the unconscious mind holds. It possesses so much power that it holds the responsibility for everything your body does to function well, like breathing, controlling temperature, sleeping, digestion, and maintaining the correct heart rate. Your unconscious mind does all these things without requiring you to lift a finger, which is also something that it can control. Your unconscious mind also tends to protect you by keeping up with the status quo, the reason why there are times when you experience extreme discomfort every time you attempt to change. It is your unconscious mind that will return you to what you consider safe and familiar. With all that, it is safe to say that your unconscious mind is all of the following: the main seat of your feelings and emotions, the source of your creativity and imagination, the place where you form and maintain habits, the part that obeys certain instructions transmitted by the conscious mind, the one that helps in storing and retrieving memories, even long-term ones. Your unconscious mind is also the one that automatically reacts whenever you are facing a threat. You may either run or freeze whenever a threat comes your way. The reality behind your unconscious mind, though, is that it is not fully rational. It is incapable of making judgments nor differentiating good from bad and right from wrong. In other words, it works by simply accepting the messages it receives or the images it obtains and considers as the truth. Expect your subconscious mind to make you feel, think, and behave automatically based on what is in line with the provided truth. This is the main reason why the unconscious mind is the one often used for mind control and manipulation. Introduction to Dark Psychology and Mind Control. For a long time already, dark psychology and its techniques have been fascinating and entrancing people regardless of where they are in the world. While many want to know about dark psychology and its branches, especially manipulation and mind control, to prevent themselves from falling victim to manipulation, others want to study this field so they can practice it. Also, despite its connection to many branches and facets of science, an air of anagogic and mystery kept on enshrouding dark psychology for a long time already. This is the reason why up to now, there are still those who are wondering about its realness. So basically, dark psychology can be described as not only a science, but also as the art of manipulation and mind control. It is different from psychology, which is mainly about the study of traits and behaviors considered as the fundamental of human thoughts, actions, and interactions. In dark psychology, people will have to use various techniques and tactics associated with mind control, manipulation, persuasion, and coercion as a means of getting what they desperately want. It studies the natural condition as related to a human psychological nature to prey on others. To simplify it, it is all about that natural part of humans to let them act willfully and deliberately in a way that they can cause harm to others. Note, though, that using prey here does not literally mean causing physical harm and damage to a person, though there is also a particular branch in dark psychology which allows one to do this. The purpose of this book, though, is just to provide information about dark psychology, manipulation, and mind control while reminding users and practitioners to use its tactics responsibly and with extreme caution. In general, the use of manipulation, coercion, and mind control when practicing dark psychology can benefit the practitioner while restricting or harming the power and freedom of the target or recipient. It is important to note, though, that while dark psychology can be implemented to the subconscious mind most of the time, there are also several instances when it does not allow one to control the mind of people stealthily and sneakily against their will and without any sign of restraint. It also has a few differences to brainwashing, as the latter needs complete control over the target, requires plenty of time to practice, and seems to be ineffective to all people as it only works for those prone to it. Brainwashing also has effects that tend to diminish with time, while dark psychology's effects tend to be longer lasting. To help you understand dark psychology better, here are its primary facets and components. Mind control, which is the process of modifying or distorting the motivation, behavioral outcome, cognition, and perception of someone in a way that their collective or individual freedom, as far as behaving, acting, and choosing is concerned, is compromised. Note that there is nothing mystical or magical in this process, but it comprises a lot of basic social psychological principles. Mind control and manipulation belong to the key aspects of dark psychology that this book will extensively tackle. Manipulation, which involves practicing and using indirect techniques to be in control of one's behaviors, feelings, or emotions and relationships. Note that plenty of people do manipulation tactics every now and then. One example is when you tell someone who is asking you that you are okay even if in reality you feel depressed. The situation technically falls under manipulation since it manifests as your way of controlling how someone perceives you and the response and reaction to you. Note, though, that there are those who practice manipulation and end up causing insidious results and consequences. This is the kind of manipulation often associated with emotional abuse, which usually happens in an intimate relationship. This is the reason why practicing it should be done responsibly. Otherwise, the manipulator may end up being unable to connect genuinely with not only their target, but also their true self. Manipulation also ends up becoming unhealthy if it already harms the physical, emotional, and mental health of both you and your target. Deception, which makes you behave in such a way that you make those around you believe false or untrue things. The act of lying falls under deception. Although many know how important trust is in all forms of relationships, there are still instances when it is undermined because of deception. In fact, no one can deny that several people end up succumbing to the act of lying or deceiving others, even on trivial matters, at least once in their lifetime. Reverse psychology, which is another facet of dark psychology that you can use in getting what you want or attaining your major objectives. As the name suggests, this tactic requires convincing and encouraging your target to give you your desired outcome, even if what you ask them to do is the exact opposite. So basically, this technique can give you your desires by demanding or asking for the thing that you don't truly want. In other words, rather than communicating your intentions and wishes directly, you will be cloaking or concealing them by requesting the opposite. Social conditioning, which mainly revolves around the sociological process that trains people in one society to react or respond based on what the entire group or society accepts and approves. It has a lot of manifestations, though. The usual categories include social patterns and social structures, like those in education, family life, entertainment, popular culture, career or employment, spirituality, and nationalism. Mentioned are just a few of the many facets and areas of dark psychology. Note, though, that what is common among all these facets is that they involve manipulation and mind control. Now, the question is, how do you know if someone is manipulating you or controlling your mind? You have to watch out for these signs so even the littlest clue can be detected, making it possible for you to protect yourself from heinous manipulators who keep on controlling your mind and emotions. Mismatched words and actions. Act like emotional black holes. Adept at making you feel guilty almost all of the time. Act like victims all the time. Behave exaggeratedly too soon. Example, acting like they care so much for you even if you just met. Act like martyrs by agreeing to extend help and volunteer even if those acts are not genuine. Fully aware of your buttons and how to push them. Capable of destabilizing your principles and beliefs as well as how you view reality. The list of signs that indicate the fact that you are manipulated and your mind is already controlled is actually very extensive and exhaustive. Note that if you are unfamiliar with dark psychology and mind control, you may have a hard time noticing that a manipulator is already targeting and controlling you. Experts and more devious manipulators have even mastered this art and science, so it is even more difficult and challenging to spot them. Despite that, you can still protect yourself from them if you start learning about this field right now. You need to have a grasp of the different signs of manipulation and mind control and how dark psychology works in general. Your knowledge will be your source of protection and defense against abusive people. Your knowledge in this field is also a major contributor in improving major aspects of your life. It is because it lets you use it for a safe and positive purpose. However, you still have to constantly remind yourself of the significance of being a wise and responsible practitioner of dark psychology. Now it's time to master the art of mind control, manipulation, and dark psychology by uncovering its fascinating tricks and tactics that will be comprehensively and extensively covered and highlighted in the succeeding chapters of this book.
I hope you're enjoying my audiobook so far. It would be a pleasure if you could let me know how you're feeling about this audiobook in the comments section below. We would greatly appreciate it if you could also like this video and subscribe to United Audiobooks to have access to more best-selling audiobooks in the future. Also, please, if you are interested in getting more free audiobooks, please click the first link in the description below. Now, let's carry on with the next chapter.
How to analyze people through body language. One of the first few things you have to learn when planning to master mind control and manipulation is the basics of using body language to analyze people and interpret their behaviors. Note that while there are those you can easily read, meaning you can figure out their feelings and emotions within just seconds of looking at them, others are more difficult and trickier to interpret. The latter provides subtle cues that you may have a difficult time analyzing and interpreting. If you study body language and how to interpret these cues, you will feel more confident analyzing everyone around you on sight. It's important to cultivate the ability to read and interpret body language correctly, since it will serve as your guide in traversing through various aspects of your life. This is especially helpful when it comes to interacting with people. You can also put this skill to good use when doing mind control and manipulation. So what exactly is body language? Body language encompasses the nonverbal cues and signals that a person can transmit to those they interact with. Despite being nonverbal, these body language signals compose a big part of your everyday interactions and communications. As a matter of fact, around 60 to 65% of all communications comprise body language. This is the reason why a full and complete understanding of various nonverbal cues, body language, is extremely important. Some examples are facial expressions, body movements, posture, eye gaze, and gestures. Most of the time, what you don't say actually carries more volume and meaning than what you say verbally. There are numerous benefits to learning and understanding how to read and interpret body language. For one, it serves as an indomitable instrument for understanding not only yourself, but also others. It can instantly supply you with information about the feelings of people in a particular situation. Body language is also useful if you aim to express your real intentions and feelings without the use of words. This makes it a lot easier for you to control the minds of other people and your own mind and detect or practice manipulation anytime necessary. Body language actually has three major classifications: eye gaze, facial expressions, and gestures. However, there are also other areas like personal distance and posture that are extremely useful in spreading information. Also, take note that while it is significant to comprehend and read body language correctly, you also have to be skilled in observing other important signals and cues like context. Remember that there will be several instances when you have to look at signals and cues as a group instead of focusing on just one action. How to read and interpret body language correctly. The accurate reading and interpretation of body language will always be a solid instrument when trying to analyze people, practice mind control and manipulation, or detect whether someone is using dark psychology against you. In that case, you have to take note of the following to increase your chance of doing an accurate read and analysis. Mouth. When one smiles, you may immediately think of it as a sign of goodwill and positivity. However, the reality is it does not mean that way all the time. The reason is that there are different kinds of smiles that you can decode by observing the mouth. Each of these smiles has different meanings. You may also want to check the lips' actual position to decode it properly. How do you know if someone is smiling genuinely? In most cases, it is characterized by mouth corners turning up combined with narrowed eyes featuring some wrinkles at the corner. As for smiles that are insincere, you will notice that the eyes are not involved. The reason is that smiling insincerely may cause discomfort. Check whether the smile is partial or comes with a smirk. If it does and comes after micro-expressions of contempt or displeasure, then it could mean that the person you are talking to is uncertain, dislikes you or the conversation, or feels disdainful. There is also a chance of attraction if the smile comes with prolonged eye contact, head tilt, or long glance. You also have to observe the lips as different positions may have different meanings. Unease if the lips are either narrowed or compressed. Sadness or fear if the lips are quivering. Disapproval or anger when the lips are pursed. At ease and comfortable if the lips are open or parted a bit. Eyes. Spend time observing and watching closely the eyes of anyone you are interacting with. The eyes can express a lot of things and emotions, so you should not miss looking at them. These body parts can spread plenty of useful information, especially as far as the level of interest and mood of a person is concerned. One thing that you should observe in the eyes is whether or not they are blinking rapidly. If there is rapid blinking, it can mean that the person doing it is experiencing a lot of stress. There are also certain cases when rapid blinking indicates dishonesty. Also take note that in several cases, there is a possibility that the blinking will become even faster if one is trying to go past a challenging problem. It could also be that they feel completely uncomfortable or something worries them and makes them feel afraid. Examine the dilation of the pupils, too. If you have positive feelings for someone, you will notice your pupils naturally dilating. Such positive feelings may be released if there is a romantic attraction, though you can't expect it to be the case all the time. One thing to note about dilation of the pupils is that it often occurs as your body's reaction to your nervous system stimulation. This is also the reason why those who feel afraid or angry also show dilated pupils. Also, there is a possibility for your pupils to become smaller or contract if you are not fond of something. Another important thing about the eyes that you have to analyze is the direction of the gaze. Take note that both your eyes are capable of following the ones that captured your interest. With that in mind, you have to track how one's gaze moves, as this will give an idea of their actual mood. Taking that premise into account, if one's eyes seem to keep wandering around as you dine in together, it is highly likely that their interest is more in eating peacefully than talking to you. In addition, the eyes may move to one side or downward when one is doing the following: finding actual solutions to a problem, recalling memories or relevant information, reminding yourself or thinking of things that are quite difficult. There is also what we call eye blocking, which you have to observe in people. If you are unfamiliar with it, take note that it involves things such as using your hand to cover both eyes or closing both eyes briefly, like when doing a long blink. You can also perceive someone as doing eye blocking if they constantly rub their eyes and squint. It is crucial to note that while blocking is unconscious, in general, it still tends to give suggestions regarding your actual feelings. Also, some people use blocking whenever they deal with something they dislike or if they feel frustrated, annoyed, or irritated. Eye blocking may also indicate your hesitation or disapproval of what is being recommended for you to do. Legs and arms. Other body parts you have to interpret also include the arms and legs. As for the message that the arms may send non-verbally, it could be that they are feeling anxious, worried, vulnerable, and uninterested. If one crosses their arms, it could also mean that they feel confident. Also, if you notice someone crossing their arms as they smile, demonstrating other signs that show their comfort level and leaning back, it could mean that they feel like they are the ones in control. In other words, they are not the vulnerable ones or those prone to dark psychology and mind control. What your arms are telling you can also provide you with a solid sense of protection. Make sure, though, that your focus is on looking for these behaviors and indicators. Putting an arm on a table or chair to rest. Holding a thing, then placing it against the chest. Creating distance by spreading out one arm. Holding another one that is behind you at the back with the help of one arm. These gestures are capable of subconsciously informing someone of the uncomfortable feeling brought on by the current setting or situation. With that, it is crucial for them to look for a way to somewhat steady themselves or give themselves protection. Hands. You can also assess one's feelings and emotions through hand gestures. In most cases, these gestures are used to emphasize something when talking. A person whose gestures are more enthusiastic is highly likely to be very excited about something. In this case, among the things you have to observe are the following. Outstretched hands. If combined with both palms facing up, this hand gesture could mean that someone is unconsciously opening themselves up. Clenched fists. This gesture indicates the feeling of frustration or anger. One may end up clenching their fist when aiming to control their angry or frustrated emotions. As far as the facial expressions, expect it to stay relaxed and neutral. You may also be wondering what it means when one seems to keep on touching their cheek almost all of the time on instinct. It usually represents how careful they are in taking something into account. It also shows their genuine and solid interest in your talk or discussion. Feet and legs. You also have to watch out for the feelings of restlessness and nervousness not only within yourself, but also in other people by examining the legs and feet. It is highly likely that the one feels restless and nervous if their body language includes foot tapping, leg jiggling, and shifting from one foot to another. There is also what we call crossed legs now, which may indicate that one is unwilling to listen to what the other party has to say. Your feet and that of others also work when it comes to revealing and emphasizing certain information. In this case, you have to look at the direction of one's feet when they are talking to you. If you notice the feet pointing away, there is a high possibility that they feel like it would be much better to leave the talk instead of continuing it. You will know that they are genuinely loving the conversation and having fun with it if you see their feet pointing toward you. Since they enjoy the talk, expect them to hope that it will continue. Distance. Check the physical distance maintained by someone as they talk to you, as there are instances when it will provide clues as to what they feel or what their exact mood is. Remember that several people would want to maintain a good distance from others. This is particularly true if they just met the ones they are interacting with. Meanwhile, you can also find some who still feel comfortable even when their personal space with other people is minimal. It could be that they are used to sitting or standing closely since it is their natural way of interacting with others. Such differences make it even more essential to learn about how those around you feel and behave depending on the distance they keep from you. Here are some telling behaviors based on physical distance. Standing or sitting too closely on a regular basis means that they are enjoying your presence and company. Standing with a noticeable distance may mean that one is literally trying to create a distance, both emotionally and physically from you. This is also the case if you notice them taking 1 or 2 steps back whenever you try to move forward and get closer to them. Sitting closely accompanied by a slight touch or smile is usually an indication that one is kind of physically attracted to the other. In several cases, this is also even more noticeable when they lean into you to talk. Raising an arm or hand as they step back usually means that they want to create more physical distance or barrier. Posture. Posture is also another type of body language you have to observe closely if you are aiming to analyze and read people more accurately. Expect body posture to provide insights as to the actual mood and feelings of a person. You can detect their real feelings through posture, especially if you notice that it is different from the way they normally and frequently carry themselves. For instance, if you notice someone who keeps on leaning back on any kind of support, like a wall, it may mean that they are disinterested or bored. Meanwhile, if they lean to you as you talk, then there is a great possibility that they are enjoying the conversation and they are interested and excited about it. Other body postures you can look into that tend to suggest or represent something are the following. Standing straight with both hands planted on the hips. This posture usually shows that the person is eager, confident, and excited. Standing straight accompanied by hands on the sides. In most cases, this indicates a resting posture, which means that one is eager to interact and listen to you. Head resting on one hand. It may be an indication of interest. However, it is highly likely that you are interacting with someone bored and fatigued if their head is supported by their two hands. Tilting of the body or head. This is especially helpful if you are trying to practice dark psychology, mind control, and manipulation, or if you are attempting to reveal the truth that someone is doing to you. In some cases, it can also mean that they are attracted, though you have to confirm this based on other nonverbal cues they present on that particular occasion. What makes body language so important? Now that you have an idea about body language, you may have also discovered how important it is in effective communication and social interaction. For one, you can earn someone's trust as you show proper eye contact or nod your head to show them that you are truly listening. There are also instances when you unconsciously mirror the body language of someone, which indicates a bond. Another thing that knowledge about body language can do is that it can help you uncover the truth. This is especially helpful if you are trying to practice dark psychology, mind control, and manipulation if you are attempting to reveal the truth that someone is doing to you. Does one's body language tend to mismatch with their words? Then it could be because of their attempt to withhold or hide information from you. It could also be that they are deceiving you, which of course you need to catch early on, so you won't fall victim to their deception and manipulation tactics. Your strong understanding of nonverbal cues or body language is truly helpful in improving the way you communicate and interact with others. It is also the key to having a close to accurate interpretation of the real message conveyed by someone. However, take note that no matter how tempting it is to assess body cues one by one, you should still make your final interpretation once you have already matched it with other signals, like verbal cues and communication, the present situation, and other nonverbal cues. That way, the result of your analysis and interpretation will be highly accurate. You can also learn more about how to communicate your nonverbal communication to become better at letting people know what you are feeling without even saying a word. The art of persuasion with emotional influence and manipulation. When it comes to mind control and manipulation, mastering the art of persuasion plays a crucial role in your success. However, you may have also asked yourself why it is so effortless for some people to persuade others. Are you also capable of doing the same? Is persuasion a skill you need to have at birth, or is it learnable? The good news is that you don't need to have this skill from birth, because it is indeed something you can learn and harness. The art of persuasion and its different techniques, especially when linked to emotional influence and manipulation, can be harnessed by understanding its major principles. The art of persuasion and its principles. A solid knowledge of persuasion can contribute a lot if you regularly have to convince or encourage someone to act or behave in a certain way. Persuasion serves several purposes. One is in terms of effective and powerful brand promotions. If you are asked to promote your brand, having the ability to persuade will help you find ways to make your brand more endearing to your market. Your career will also greatly benefit if you are able to hone and cultivate your persuasion skills. It is particularly useful during times when you are proposing a project and you are seeking approval. You can even put it to good use when planning to ask for a raise and you are still convincing your boss that you deserve it. Note, though, that since the art of persuasion uses tactics that somewhat involve influence, manipulation, and mind control, you have to learn about its working principles first. Learn and follow the principles of persuasion as it will guide you for the responsible and wise use of this technique. It also helps a lot if you are still on the verge of earning the trust of your target. Reciprocity. One key principle associated with the practice of persuasion is reciprocity. In reciprocity, returning favors is the norm. This means that every time you respond positively to the request of someone, it is highly likely for them to do something for you in return, too. This may just be a simple principle, but its effect on someone is very significant. When it comes to practicing this principle, remember that its main focus is to give first. The reason is that anyone who gets something will somehow feel obliged to give back or return the favor. Consistency or commitment. Persuasion also seems to work under the principle of consistency or commitment, which is vital because it helps in establishing credibility and trust. Present yourself in such a way that those around you will sense your commendable commitment. This is necessary as this serves as confirmation to those around you that you are indeed reliable. That is, you are someone they can depend on as far as following through on your commitments is concerned. This principle demonstrates your commitment to fulfill any promise you have. It also shows your trustworthiness. If people see that you have those mentioned positive qualities, then there is a high likelihood that they would want to keep on interacting with you and supporting you. They will take you seriously since you have demonstrated the fact that you are indeed a man of words. This can also increase your persuasive effects on them, making it possible for you to convince them to do something for you or listen to anything you intend to say. Authority. People of authority are also among those who have strong persuasive skills. They have a strong and powerful influence considering the fact that their authority, experience, and expertise may make them even more believable. If you have plans on persuading someone, it is therefore crucial that you get to show and establish your authority depending on the specific matter you are dealing with. Fortunately, you have several options when attempting to demonstrate your authority, including displaying any award, accolade, or credential you received. If you have a website, you can post it there for everyone to see. Talk as if you are an expert in your chosen niche. Ensure that you have a strong and active presence online and on social media. By doing such things, you can show everyone that you are fully knowledgeable in your niche. In other words, you are credible and anything that you say regarding the topic is based on your expertise. This kind of showmanship of authority also increases the likelihood of the people around hearing you and taking everything you say seriously. This is a big help if you are still in the stage of improving your reputation. Once that happens, persuading other people will become almost second nature since you will start discovering that it is indeed easier to do. Social persuasion and proof. There is also what we refer to as social persuasion or social proof. This is one of the most powerful and solid persuasion tactics as it tends to tap into the human's natural instinct to follow other people's lead. In most cases, this is practiced under the assumption that it is the most accurate action because you see those around you doing the same. This kind of assumption is the reason behind the release of several online testimonials and reviews that are so influential that they end up persuading others to act. In psychology, you can call this principle the information social influence. You can look at its premise based on this scenario. Imagine a researcher who invited a few people to dine in a restaurant that is unfamiliar to them. Upon hearing that many customers love to eat at that restaurant and that it received high positive reviews, you may be persuaded to give their food a try. This may have positive influences on your mind, which means that you will start perceiving the restaurant in a more positive light. Even if the food is not yet served and you have not tried it yet, your overall mood and experience will improve. Through this principle, earning people's trust when offering a product or anything else to them is a strong possibility. It also means that you need social proof if your goal is to build a strong and solid reputation. Scarcity. Another key principle governing the art of persuasion is scarcity. You can persuade and influence people using the scarcity mindset. This is a strong, influential technique, especially if you consider the nature of humans to desire to own something that is already scarce or rare. Most people naturally perceive something scarce as more precious compared to when it is still highly abundant. One can harness this scarcity perception when aiming to bolster persuasion power. This principle is so effective and powerful, which is why you can see it being used in the art of perception for several centuries already. You will even find it useful in improving your reputation, which can further bolster your ability to persuade. You may also want to use this principle on yourself. You can make others see you as someone rare and scarce, so they will start looking at you as someone with more value. The bigger your value is in people's perception, the higher your persuasive power and influence will become. One more thing that the scarcity principle can do for you is to make you more admirable and respectable. Your rarity will make you look more special. You will appear as someone with more edge compared to the others. Avoid faking scarcity, though, as it may only ruin your reputation and diminish your persuasion skills. Emotional manipulation and mind control through persuasion. One thing to take note about persuasion is that it does not immediately fall under manipulation. Note that manipulation often revolves around coercing or forcing others to act or behave in a way that is beneficial and favorable to the manipulator. The act does not put the best interest of the target or victim first. Meanwhile, persuasion's focus is on influencing and convincing others to act in a way that is mutually beneficial for the two parties involved. Despite that, the two are correlated in the sense that you can also use your persuasion skills and power to manipulate someone and control their mind and emotions. However, you still have to remind yourself of ethical standards. This means you still have to think of what is safe for those you are planning to subject to persuasion and manipulation. It would do you good to be responsible enough to work on implementing manipulation strategies that can benefit both parties. It is also crucial to understand how emotional persuasion and manipulation work exactly, as this is what will guide you in preventing someone from doing it to you, especially if it has a high chance of resulting in harm in the end. In general, emotional persuasion refers to the technique that you can use when appealing to your target's feelings and emotions, so you will end up convincing them to provide support to a certain stance or act in your favor. In most cases, this technique requires you to use images and language guaranteed to arouse strong emotions. The goal here is to keep the audience more engaged emotionally. You can see emotional persuasion being widely used in a lot of areas and contexts, among which are politics, social causes, and advertising. The reason is that when practiced correctly, it is likely for it to inspire certain emotions like sympathy, empathy, happiness, and even fear. It can evoke certain feelings and emotions that will end up motivating or encouraging the target to believe, behave, or act in a specific way. To make emotional persuasion more powerful and effective, ensure that it connects with the beliefs, values, and experiences of your target. The call to action should also be clear, giving them a clear path as to how they should act or behave. One important reminder is that while emotional persuasion is guaranteed to be an influential and powerful instrument if you use it responsibly and ethically, you still have to be extra cautious and mindful when implementing it. The reason is that it may end up being too dangerously manipulative once it starts appealing to the target's negative feelings and emotions. The same is true if it already involves the use of misleading and false information. This makes it all the more crucial to practice emotional persuasion with caution. Carefully consider how it can affect your subject or target. In most cases, emotional persuasion is already negative and kind of dangerous when it involves the manipulation of the mind and emotions of individuals with the end goal of controlling them. This is the case if the following techniques are already being practiced. Guilt tripping. It is likely that you are being guilt-tripped if someone keeps on making you feel guilty or responsible because of a decision you made or a past or recent action. In most cases, guilt tripping happens when one uses what you did in the past as a form of leverage. They end up using it against you so you will follow their requests or give in to their demands. Let's say, for example, you ask for help from someone so you can get into college. However, recently he seems to keep on reminding you of how much you owe them. This may lead to pressure on your part, making you feel obliged to follow their demands all the time due to guilt. If this happens to you, then you may have been guilt-tripped. Gaslighting. Gaslighting can be defined as a psychological tactic that may cause you to begin doubting how you perceive reality. In this technique, a manipulator will begin questioning how valid your feelings and memory are with the goal of gaining an advantage or an upper hand. This may also result in you doubting yourself and starting to distrust your decisions and judgment. You may even start questioning what you know as your reality and start wondering if it truly happened. One thing about gaslighting is that it is done either intentionally or unintentionally. With that said, you have to find out first if someone prompts you to doubt and question your point of view and reality on purpose before acting on it. If you sense that you have been gaslighted, you should look at the situation using a wider and broader point of view. It also helps to open up an honest discussion and conversation regarding your concerns. If the case seems to be really intentional, then it indicates that you may have been deeply abused emotionally. You may want to seek the help of trusted people that are not part of your partnership with the manipulator so you can search for the truth more objectively. Love bombing. The beginning of a romantic relationship is an exciting moment for someone. It is the time when you will feel almost all positive emotions, including fun, genuine joy, and excitement. The positive feelings may be even more intense if you find yourself being head over heels with your new partner. However, this can also make you prone to what we call love bombing, which is a somewhat deceptive tactic of manipulation since at the beginning, it involves giving you all the romantic and positive feelings you can think of. Of course, it is natural for humans to want to be the ones receiving overflowing amounts of gifts, affection, and flattery. Based on that premise, it is safe to say that love bombing happens when one tends to adore you almost excessively. For example, when you notice your new partner showing up in your workplace daily or if he keeps on sending you a lot of poetic and romantic messages. Expert manipulators tend to use love bombing as a means of buttering up their targets, thereby lowering the chance of them receiving protests whenever they get manipulated. It usually takes place after being abused for a while and when the manipulator tries to atone for how they acted. Now, how can you stop someone who is love bombing you? Yes, you may find it difficult to question a person who just seems to have an overflowing love for you. This is especially true if the feelings seem to be mutual. However, if you are already uncomfortable with the somewhat overwhelming amount of admiration you receive from someone, opening up a frank and honest talk may be necessary. It may be time for a confrontation if there is already a noticeable pattern of you being love bombed, which is followed by other types of manipulation, abuse, and devaluation. Fear-mongering. There is also what we call fear-mongering, otherwise called fear propaganda. It refers to a type of emotional manipulation tactic. The goal is to cause people to panic or fear something even if unnecessary or unreasonable. It is a popular tactic used by people in power and those in the government, media, and corporations when attempting to disseminate or spread messages of fear. This form of emotional manipulation works under the psychological premise that whenever one feels afraid, it can trigger their fight or flight response. In other words, they will feel obliged to avoid or confront the main cause of the fear. Each time you feel afraid, your brain will automatically release adrenaline, the one that will prompt a higher level of alertness, increase your heart rate, and cause anxiety symptoms. It causes a kind of arousal that increases your susceptibility to just believe and accept any message delivered to you that induces fear. Avoid such a situation, though. Never get involved in this particular type of psychological and emotional manipulation as much as possible. Otherwise, you may end up suffering from panic, anxiety, and stress, further leading to avoidance behavior. Fear propaganda or fear-mongering also has powerful effects that you will surely notice once you see how it controls the opinions of the public or even influences the patterns through which people vote. In addition, this kind of manipulation is often used to paralyze people, demoralize them, and cultivate the feeling of being powerless. Acting as the victim. A lot of manipulators also seem to master the act of playing like the victim. In other words, they lack the ability to take responsibility or accountability for however they behave, even if negative. Are you with someone who further worsens your inferiority complex? Then consider it a red flag. This is true if you feel pressure to be the one who will apologize each time there is an argument. This is also true if you rarely hear the other party saying sorry. If you realize that there is indeed an intentional emotional manipulation, control, and persuasion, you should try to look for a way to stop the urge to say sorry to the other always. Make it a habit to spend a few minutes reflecting first before you apologize. Even a few moments of reflection would be enough to help you determine if it is indeed your fault. It will help you decide whether you should still be the one who has to say sorry. If you know that you are not at fault and realize that there is no reason to be overly apologetic, then avoid giving it. What you have to do instead is to talk to the other party and state your facts and reality calmly. However, if they start pressuring you to give an apology by acting like a victim, then ending the talk may be the wisest move you can make. Subliminal messaging and its impact on the human mind. Now let's tackle subliminal messaging, which also has an impact on the human mind. The question is, does the use of subliminal messages work effectively in mind control and manipulation? The answer is yes, though you have to be 100% sure you are using it correctly. In fact, several practitioners believe that there is an immediate link between subliminal messages and mind control, a form of mental manipulation triggering the change of one's views or behaviors regarding certain things. In several cases, you can see these messages being used to persuade someone to try and buy a product or avail of a service. It will also be useful in persuading someone to vote for a specific politician during elections. If done right, it can also socially re-engineer the victim in a certain way without their knowledge or consent. This may sound hideous for some, considering the fact that it involves manipulation and persuasion with the targets being unwilling victims at times. However, a few also have a more positive take on this technique. They find subliminal messages positive as they can utilize them as effective and powerful tools for self-development. One example is when you use this type of manipulative message in reprogramming your subconscious mind so it will focus more on attaining success. The message holds so much power that it has the ability to alter your mindset. This is usually enough for you to do certain things that you think are impossible. One of which is releasing yourself from a bad habit, which is so restricting and limiting for you, and forming new ones that are more goal-centric. This chapter will enlighten you on what exactly is subliminal message and how it works. You will also have an idea about the proper use of it, making sure that it is for your own good. Once you are enlightened, it will be easier to catch someone doing it to you and your loved ones. With that, there is a low chance that you will be harmed by this tactic. Subliminal messages defined. If the concept of using subliminal messages is still new to you, then take note that it can be defined as a message one receives unconsciously. In other words, the actual message is concealed using perceptible sounds or pictures, causing them to bypass your consciousness or active awareness. It can therefore directly impact your subconscious mind as it absorbs the message. The result is that the concealed message penetrates your mind and you are left unaware of it. Once such messages reach your mind, it is likely for them to begin triggering your fears and desires. Most subliminal messaging techniques are used by advertisers too, because those seem to make the messages more powerful and action-oriented. One example is integrating intense and conversational words like death and sex into the messages. There are also instances when powerful and unique images like skulls, contorted faces, and phallic symbols are embedded into images that are otherwise ordinary. You can see these images being embedded in advertising pictures and slogans. There are also instances when they are flashed in advertisements for just a couple of seconds to ensure that the conscious mind will not be able to sense and detect them. Several marketers and advertisers use this particular subliminal messaging technique as it is effective in mind control, enticing its audience to buy and pay for products and services, even those that they do not primarily need. Just a quick search on the internet will give you an idea of how companies use such a technique in tapping the subconscious minds of their target audience and reaching their subliminal perception. Types of subliminal messaging. Subliminal messaging can be classified in several forms, but most of them are proven useful and reliable in almost every kind of advertising, including TV, radio, and print. The user can even pick a type that they can incorporate into their social media pages. You can integrate them in your captions and pictures on Instagram, Snapchat campaigns, and Facebook advertisements. Auditory. An auditory subliminal message, as the name suggests, refers to a message integrated into audio materials and resources. This type is also divided into two: subaudible messages and backmasking. A subaudible message is one mixed into loud sounds and music that hearing them is quite hard. You will have to integrate or insert it into an audio material, such as a recording or an interview or a song or music. The actual subliminal message has a lower volume compared to the primary sound or audio. This makes the presence of the message subtle. Despite the low volume of the message that it will be challenging for your conscious mind to hear, your brain is still naturally capable of storing the message inside your subconscious mind and memory. When that happens, it is able to do its job of delivering the message to your subconscious, which will let you pull out its important details anytime necessary. There is another technique called backmasking, which provides another means of inserting a subliminal message to an audio. In backmasking, the message will have to be recorded backward or in reverse. When you play it forward, you can't understand the exact meaning, but your subconscious will still be able to decode the message, allowing you to grasp it in the end. Visual. Based on its name, one can immediately sense that visual subliminal messaging involves the use of messages that will be flashed right in front of your eyes. It does so without giving your conscious mind the chance to pick it up. It has two types, one of which is what we call embeds. In this type of visual subliminal messaging, the message will be presented as an image or symbol that you can't see right away. The message is existing, but the one that will be able to grasp it is your subconscious. The other type is the subvisual cue, which you can often see being used in different ad materials, including TV, print, and other ads that you can see. Expect this type of visual subliminal message to demonstrate subtle visual messages and cues to the target audience. It could be in the form of a message concealed inside a logo. It could also be a tiny picture that is being integrated into another picture. One key fact about these subvisual cues is that they are often so quick and tiny that your consciousness will not be able to detect their presence. The one that will be storing the information is your brain, specifically the part where your subconsciousness is in. Different methods of practicing subliminal mind control. Again, the process associated with subliminal mind control involves sending messages to your subconscious subtly and without you being completely aware of it. Some may find this shady, but a lot of people are actually implementing such strategies on a daily basis. It is a great technique used in the world of marketing and advertising as it involves subtle persuasion. Let's take a look at the commercial where you see a girl enjoying her orange juice. Note that while the ad looks innocent, it does not just involve the drink and the girl. The commercial is made in a way that spreads numerous subliminal messages. Such messages aim to persuade the viewers to give the offered product or service a try. Despite not literally belonging to the advertising industry, you can still benefit from learning a couple of things about subliminal messages and mind control tactics. The reason is that it helps in making your life bearable. You can use the following couple of subliminal strategies to obtain an edge in various aspects of your life. Use your vocabulary to leave a good and positive impression. One of the simplest strategies that will help you fully understand subliminal messaging and mind control is to use vocabulary to impress those around you. Remember that it is natural for many people to look up to people who appear to be beyond them. This could be the driving force for you to want to appear respectable. You may want to make people see clearly that you are indeed worthy of respect and admiration. You can effectively do this by improving your vocabulary. It also helps to inject new words into all your discussions and conversations. You may look at this method as very simple, but its subliminal effect can make those around you, including strangers, to trust and believe anything you say. It also helps to use jargon related to the industry you are in. This helps a lot in making yourself appear truly intellectual and professional. However, if you feel like the one you are talking to is not that knowledgeable on the conversation's topic, make it a point to use simple words. The words should be simple so that they can quickly and easily catch and relate to them. Never attempt to leave a positive impression on others using vague and complex words, as the unfamiliarity may only end up driving them away. Offer benefits. Another way to use subliminal mind control to your benefit is to offer anyone you are talking to benefits. The goal here is to let them know and understand that your proposal can greatly benefit them. It is natural for humans to aim to receive greater rewards and benefits, and you can use this for subliminal messaging. For example, if you are aiming to persuade or influence one to be a member of your political party, you have to clearly explain how it can benefit or profit them. You may lure some people to get into your side by offering significant benefits that they can enjoy now and in the future. You may also give out promotional materials such as mugs and shirts. Tap into emotions. The goal is to penetrate the hearts of your audience. Note that humans have this natural ability to emphasize and feel emotions. If your main objective is to acquire your wants and desires covertly, then this strategy of tapping into your heart and emotions can help you a lot. For instance, think of a charitable organization known for its really nice background story. In that case, the organization has a much better chance of raising its funds compared to a charity without any dramatic story. The same premise is applicable to adorable kids who can seem to charm the hearts of their parents like no other, causing them to get what they demand from time to time. Improve negative behaviors, habits, and thought patterns. You will also find the use of subliminal messages helpful in improving your negative behaviors, habits, and thought patterns. The reason is that it is capable of boosting motivation and mood, inspiring others to work on what they genuinely want, and encouraging positive stimulation. It is also useful in altering your negative perceptions and turning them into positive ones. If you are suffering from several conditions that affect your mind negatively, example, phobia, addiction, or any other mental illness, it helps to keep on using subliminal messaging to improve your situation. It is a major contributor to changing the way your mind thinks, thereby improving several areas of your life. Keeping yourself protected from dangerous subliminal messaging and mind control. Subliminal messaging noticeably has several remarkable benefits. However, the most common that you can classify it with is that it is a form of mind control. It can therefore lead to compulsive traits and behaviors. With that, you have to also learn how to defend your subconscious mind from it. Otherwise, you may end up being controlled and manipulated without your knowledge. For instance, you should remind yourself that any form of advertisement is filled with a lot of subliminal stimuli. By knowing that, you will find yourself having a sort of defense against the possible influence of an ad. It is a crucial step if your goal is to stop yourself from getting subjected to manipulation or mind control. So how can you give yourself a solid form of defense against subliminal messaging? Here are a few simple tips. Reduce your habit of watching TV excessively. You may want to stop watching too much TV. This can lessen your exposure to ads that may only invade your mind and cause you to be manipulated. Let go of excessive TV use and replace it with activities that let you be one with nature. Use meditation. It also helps to tap into your inner self. Be attuned with your own self, as it will also help you partner with your subconscious comfortably. Meditation can help elevate your sense of consciousness and awareness, thereby boosting your chance of remaining in charge of subliminal stimuli. Work with crystals and gemstones. Choose those capable of protecting your mind, though. One example is sodalite, which can help harmonize your subconscious and conscious mind while promoting mental clarity. Surround yourself with a psychic defense shield. By doing this, it would be easier for you to protect yourself from the dangerous practice of mind control that subliminal messages carry. Do this by relaxing and surrounding yourself with a powerful and solid psychic force composed only of positive energy. Make sure that you also believe in the ability of this shield to protect you from being subconsciously conditioned and manipulated. One last thing that you can do to prevent subliminal messaging from taking full advantage of you is this. Whenever you are enticed to buy something, reflect first. You should ask yourself several times whether you genuinely want or need the product. This is so you can differentiate what you truly like from the kind of want that the advertisers may have only led you to believe using the power of subliminal messages. Hypnosis and covert influence. In terms of learning and understanding mind control and manipulation, a topic that you will surely encounter is what we call covert hypnosis. You may have also heard about it before, and your interest grew even more after you decided to learn about mind control. Basically, covert hypnosis is an interesting subject that a lot of people, including salespersons, advertisers, and therapists, among many others, wish to learn and master. In fact, they are among the thousands who have been trying to master a few tips and tricks in covert hypnosis for years. Note, though, that the practice of covert hypnosis is kind of subject to controversies because of the ethical and moral concerns that people raise. Yes, no one can doubt its power and effectiveness in terms of persuasion and influence. However, there are also ethical and moral factors that one should take into account. Otherwise, there is a great chance for its practitioners to disregard the possibility that the techniques will be abused by using it in harmful manipulation and mind control. This makes it necessary for you to constantly remind yourself how important it is to meet the ethical standards and considerations about covert hypnosis and influence before you start studying it, and probably put its techniques to practice. The most important thing that will lead to the proper and successful use of covert hypnosis is to ensure that you take fair and justifiable responsibility. It is important to straighten the use and application of covert hypnosis based on critical ethical factors and standards associated with respect, safety, and health of the target of hypnosis and authorization. The practice of covert hypnosis will also have a better chance of becoming effective and successful if you make the other party participate. Despite the need for their participation, you still have an assurance that there is no need for you to customize this tactic uniquely for them. You can still make it work in your favor while keeping the other party unharmed. So let's start learning about covert hypnosis, so you can finally put the strategies that fall under it to good use. What is covert hypnosis exactly? Otherwise referred to as conversational hypnosis, covert hypnosis can be defined as a means of influencing someone indirectly with the help of hypnotic concepts. You will have to apply these concepts and techniques in your daily talks and conversations so you can persuade others or make them adjust their behaviors without them recognizing it consciously. Compared to the typical hypnosis method that uses formal induction techniques, you will notice that covert hypnosis runs discreetly. In other words, it tends to bypass your consciousness or the mind where awareness is in. You can therefore expect it to function straight or directly to your subconscious mind. In that regard, the aim of this form of hypnosis is to communicate with your subconscious mind. This happens without you being aware of it. The fact that the attempt is usually without the knowledge of the subject and often injected into normal daily talks and conversations is the primary reason behind it being called covert. It stealthily hypnotizes its target. Note, though, that despite often working under that premise, you can also find other definitions for this technique, allowing it to approach various angles and perspectives. One is that it is a scientific and powerful breakthrough, which works effectively in controlling the minds of the subject of hypnosis. It also helps in changing behavior and hypnotically persuading someone to fulfill your demands without their knowledge. Some also say that it is an effective tool to get any information you want from the subject. The only thing to do is to utilize some tools for hypnosis even if the subject is awake. Overall, you can see it working as a controlling and powerful instrument designed to influence those around you without their deliberate awareness. There are several reasons why many people are now tempted to utilize covert hypnosis. Some intend to use it for good, like in the case of manifesting positive intentions. Note, though, that in some extreme cases, others abuse it and use it for negativity. Still, I highly recommend using it only for goodness and positivity. For example, it is valuable in promoting goodness and abundance in your own life and loved ones. Also remember that covert hypnosis will always act as a stealthy yet powerful and effective means of controlling the mind of others. Some decide to hone this skill as a way to make them more impressive to others, but note that you can also use it for self-improvement. One example when attempting to make yourself wealthier. In addition, it is useful in enticing someone to get into your life or gain advantages from them. It is truly an effective means of getting your wants and needs. Though, you have to be careful every time you use it and ensure you don't end up putting yourself or your loved ones in danger because of it. Important stages in covert hypnosis. If you are thinking of making covert hypnosis a part of your skill set, then you should remember its 4 primary guidelines and steps. It is also crucial to consider the exact level of your skills in this area, how much patience you have, and the specific technique you intend to use. Also note that while there are a lot of factors and tactics governing covert hypnosis, the following steps and stages are considered the basics for anyone who wishes to utilize it. Absorb or grab attention. Of course, the first crucial step you have to take as you are trying to take advantage of covert hypnosis is successfully absorbing and grabbing the attention of your subject. Here, you will have to utilize extreme focus, proficiency, and concentration, especially in terms of making the target or subject drawn to you. It is advisable to do this without any form of outer or external distractions. You have to focus on absorbing and grabbing their attention, as this is the key to making them completely glued to you and what you say. In other words, you have to ensure that you have their undivided focus and attention. This is achievable if you tell or ask them about an interesting topic, one that will surely pique their curiosity and interest. It is also possible to get through this stage with the help of other indirect yet effective techniques for attention absorption. Bypass critical factor. You have to undertake this second step if you want to successfully achieve and implement covert hypnosis. The critical factor that we are referring to here is that particular section of your brain telling you that it is impossible, meaning it has no chance of happening. Note, though, that this critical factor, the impossibility, is not the primary reason why hypnosis becomes ineffective. In several cases, it is because of how you resist the critical factor. With that, you really have to work on bypassing this kind of thinking, so you can proceed with this technique successfully. Stimulate a response from the unconscious. Covert hypnosis also has its third phase focusing on activating or stimulating a response from the target unconsciously. Once you get the unconscious response, it is safe to say that your subject has successfully reached the state of hypnosis. Note that unconsciousness responses come in various types, one of which is a response coming from your target's actual emotions. Your inability to get this kind of response from your subject means that you have not hypnotized them. In other words, you can't move on to the final stage yet, which will be all about getting your desired result. Guiding the unconscious to your preferred desired result. This is the last stage associated with the administering of covert hypnosis. Here, the goal is to guide and lead your target's subconscious mind so you will get the outcome or results that you are hoping for. Once you have made your subject reach the state of hypnosis, start implementing more hypnotic methods to make this final step possible. It is during this stage wherein you can use a few techniques, like keywords and suggestions, as a means of attaining your desired outcome. Covert hypnosis strategies. The thing that may have been bothering you now is how can you make this last step of the covert hypnosis process a success? The answer is by applying the right covert hypnosis techniques. In most cases, these tactics require you to use mere words while ensuring that they avoid the filtering of your subject's conscious mind. In other words, you have to be 100% sure that the information immediately goes into the subconscious. To make that happen, Here are the most effective covert hypnosis strategies you can facilitate. Keywords. What you want to do here is to use specific key phrases and words that function directly as a form of the subconscious command. In other words, they are effective in putting aside the faculties making up your critical thinking. Some examples of such words are relax and visualize. Such command words can be immediately picked up by your subconscious mind, making it possible to act on them right away before your consciousness gives you the chance to say no. However, note that whether you use it on yourself or someone else, you have to make sure that you do not preoccupy your mind with other concerns. This is essential if you want to gain positive results. The most effective suggestion, in this case, is the visual image. It is the reason behind the effectiveness and strength of visualization. If your command word is to visualize or imagine, your mind will be programmed with anything you intend to imagine. You may be using just a simple keyword, but when done right, it is enough to program your mind effectively. Ambiguity. This is another technique that proves to be truly useful when doing covert hypnosis. In this technique, you will have to use ambiguous speeches for your audience. The ambiguity technique is actually one of the most common methods used by dictators, leaders, and other people in the world of politics who are hungry for power to put the public under hypnosis. Note, though, that several of the political leaders in different parts of the world often talk just like skilled orators. Now, you may be wondering how you can hypnotize people by using ambiguous language. Well, the answer is that it is the conscious mind that will most likely pick up meaningful, logical, and simple sentences. The goal of this technique is to utilize vague words and aim to instigate emotions so its effects will be tremendous. It is highly likely that the conscious mind will become busy trying to find out what the sentence means. Meanwhile, the subject can be expected to be bombarded with questions and suggestions. Example, a politician suggesting during this stage that the subject should vote for him. Conjunctions. It is also possible to do covert hypnosis with the help of covert conjunctions. In this tactic, you will have to express some absolute truths initially that are quickly verifiable by your subject or target audience. Once a set of accurate details and information are provided, you should suggest how you intend your subject or audience's mind to be engineered and programmed. You may also want to imagine your subconscious like a club. Here, you should also visualize a security guard who guards your club. This guard can be classified as your conscious mind. What the security guard in this case has to do is to prevent anyone who has a high chance of causing danger to enter the club. Your conscious mind also performs the functions of keeping all details and information that you do not agree with. At first, you can expect the guard to be really alert as they carefully observe the women entering. During conversations, expect to feel awkward and conscious during the initial phases when you are still trying to decipher or examine carefully the words that come out of the mouths of the other, especially if you are talking to a stranger. One example of conjunction that you can use is because. You can use it in linking two statements even if they are not completely related. Presupposition. There is also what we call presupposition, which is known to be really interesting since in the usual practice of hypnosis, the first thing you want to do would be to distract a person's conscious mind. Once distracted, it is safe to introduce your suggestion. However, take note that when we are talking about presupposition, you will have to make the opposite take place. Here, you will have to provide the suggestion first, after which you have to distract the person's conscious mind. You have to do this correctly so you can avoid possible scrutiny. One goal when practicing presupposition is to eliminate extreme scrutiny and examination so your suggestion will be accepted without question. If you presuppose your suggestion in the form of a truth that no one can question, there is a possibility that your conscious mind will get distracted as it receives a lot of different information. Analog marketing. There is also what we call analog marketing, which, while sounding a bit technical and complex, is actually naturally existing in your daily conversations. In this technique, you will have to highlight certain phrases and keywords as you talk to someone. Your goal should be to communicate with the subconscious mind of a person directly. Note that it is natural for the human mind to evolve by paying attention to or observing any environmental changes all the time. This scenario is known as an oriental response. For example, if someone enters a door, it seems automatic for your head to turn so it can check who is exactly the person entering. You may view it as a conscious response, but in most cases, it is automatic and unconscious. It takes place even if your will is not involved. The natural ability of your subconscious mind to notice environmental changes naturally is the reason why you can use it in analog marking. Some even end up exploiting it. What you want to do is to induce or stimulate a kind of environmental change as you send your message in each conversation. By doing that, you have a higher chance of directly communicating with your subject's subconscious mind. Neuro-linguistic programming, NLP, is it useful for mind control and manipulation? Another valuable instrument that one uses for mind control and manipulation is what we call neuro-linguistic programming, also called NLP. This technique can be implemented by changing one's behavior and thoughts in a way that they can attain positive and desirable results. According to many users, it is also effective in lowering their anxiety and improving their overall well-being. What exactly is NLP? NLP can be defined as an approach which mainly focuses on the way you connect and communicate with both yourself and other people. It also tackles the way it affects the behaviors of people and their individual outcomes. NLP became popular and widespread from the moment it began in the 70s. The people behind the development of NLP at the time were John Grinder and Richard Bandler. Both of them strongly believe in the possibility of identifying the behavioral and thought patterns of those who attain success and teaching such patterns to other people. Among its major uses are those that revolve around treating and dealing with anxiety disorders, overcoming phobias, boosting personal happiness, and improving performance, especially in the workplace. Basically, NLP utilizes behavioral, communication, and perceptual tactics designed to lessen the difficulties associated with altering the thoughts and actions of those around you. It encompasses a set of principles and strategies with the goal of influencing other people's emotions and behaviors using language and proper communication. It works based on the model that influences the behaviors, thoughts, and feelings within yourself and that of others. In addition, it uses language in such an empowering way that it can encourage one to make some changes in their limiting beliefs and unwanted habits. Another notable function of NLP is that it promotes better and stronger relationships with other people. Reaching your goals will also be easier through NLP. It was also discovered that NLP operates on the belief that it is possible to model the behaviors of other people as well as their results or outcome. In other words, you should start observing the behaviors and personalities of those you admire. You can internalize and attempt to copy their behaviors so you can achieve their success too. Using NLP in manipulations and mind control. Do you know that NLP also has great use in manipulation and mind control, especially if you are into making negotiations? The reason is that it works in building rapport, persuading others, eliciting information, and resolving conflicts. The following are some of the NLP techniques that you can use in the area of mind control and manipulation. Rapport building. This specific technique is a big help if your goal is to connect and communicate with others naturally. The goal here is to synchronize your unique style of communication with the subject of your mind control and manipulation tactics so you can establish trust between you. What's great about rapport building with the help of NLP is that it tends to develop more trust in talks and conversations. It is even possible for you to use this tactic if you are negotiating with someone because of your conflicting views. As a result of using it, there's a high chance for both parties to come up on an agreement or reach a middle ground. This is also a big help as it can mitigate conflict. For this NLP tactic to work, you have to ensure that it carries several of its key elements, among which are pacing one's expressions and adapting to them, active listening, stopping yourself from being too judgmental, bottom lining, which also means you have to clearly show where exactly you stand, backtracking, persuading, and leading. For instance, if your talk with a close friend turned into an argument, there is a high chance for the tone of their voice to turn heated. If uncontrolled, this may lead both of you to hurt each other. Note, though, that even if you do not want your voice to have a heated tone too, it can benefit you if you attempt to match the posture of the person you are talking to and their voice's volume, pitch, and speed. By doing that, you can build a stronger connection, which is also the key to demonstrating how much you understand them based on their perspective. It therefore contributes to persuading them to stop the potential conflict. Metal model. One fact about NLP is that it makes use of what we call the meta model as you intend to raise questions regarding the beliefs that you have in common and the way one looks at reality. With this NLP technique, you will discover that almost all people utilize cognitive distortions, also known as thought fillers, that will help you look at not only yourself, but also other people and events more negatively than what is actual. In most cases, you get to respond to such thoughts more frequently compared to reality. You can also use language in reinforcing them even further. When it comes to the meta model, expect it to have questions that you can either ask yourself or other people. The goal of asking such questions is to contrast the thoughts and statements of someone and hope that it will control their behaviors. For instance, if your conversation with someone causes you to feel irritated as the other party seems to interrupt you all the time, in this case, reflect on the number of times they already do it to you during the exchange. After that, you can respond using the evidence rather than your assumption. Modeling. Another effective and powerful NLP technique is modeling, which recreates one's way of enriching the way you look at the world. One thing to note about modeling is that you are allowed to model one's mindset, belief system, excellence, and behavior. One may even feel like someone is imitating or copying them because of it. The goal of NLP is to channel the traits and behaviors of one and comprehend the manner through which they behave and think. Mirroring. In mirroring, the emphasis is more on how important both nonverbal and verbal cues and signals are. Matching or mirroring the energy of someone and sometimes their body language and posture helps make you look more trustworthy and likable unconsciously. In this technique, you will have to mirror or match the body language of another person, like their posture, gesture, tone of voice, and eye movements. By doing that, you can drive and encourage more people to like you. It can improve your rapport with others and enhance the way you communicate. In addition, it can sidestep any argument or conflict. Mirroring also plays a vital role in influencing a situation's outcome. Additional tips for protection purposes. Note that NLP also finds its use in resistance and manipulation. The reason is some of them may attempt to derail, distract, or deceive you, thereby preventing you from reaching your goals. With that, you really have to be skilled in handling NLP manipulation and resistance when you are in negotiations. The following are some of the things you can do to keep yourself protected from harmful manipulations and ensure that you get to maintain your edge and advantage. Be knowledgeable of the signs. Do you want to detect right away whenever someone is manipulating or controlling you through NLP? Then observe some of its common signs. One possible sign is the use of contradictory and unclear words and language that also tend to sound confusing or misleading. Watch out for hypnotic patterns being used against you, too. Some examples are commands, repetition, and embedded recommendations and suggestions designed to influence and persuade the subconscious. There are also those that trigger you emotionally. This involves using certain emotions like flattery, guilt, and fear as a means of manipulating your feelings and keeping you under control. Other signs that you are now being manipulated through NLP are the following: framing, pre-framing, or reframing. The goal of manipulators here is to change or shape your point of view on a particular situation. The way you look at an outcome may also be changed. Diverting, deflecting, or distracting you. Manipulators do this so they can avoid the need to address certain concerns and answer questions. Matching, mirroring, and anchoring. Find out whether these NLP techniques are also used against you by others. The ultimate goal of these techniques is to establish a fake kind of rapport. With that, it can give you a feeling that you have already built a connection, even if it is imagined or unreal. Make sure that you are cautious and alert so you can immediately catch these signs. If you notice that most of these things are being done to you by someone, you have to reflect even deeper before taking action. By doing that, you can prevent those manipulative tendencies of others brought on by the practice of NLP from affecting your ability to make decisions and formulate judgments. Challenge, test assumptions. Handling NLP manipulation is also possible if you challenge the implied assumptions of the other party. Note that an indicator of manipulation occurs if one does things that make you form different assumptions about them, such as being more authoritative, influential, knowledgeable, and interesting. You may also assume that they are more capable of building rapport. Avoid accepting such implied assumptions right away. You should look for evidence that is indeed true first so you can justify it. Some questions you can ask that will question assumptions are, how did you find out about that? And, can you provide more details regarding that? If you ask these questions, it would be easier for you to challenge assumptions and find out the intention and agenda that the other party may be concealing. Counter strategies. Of course, since you are already aware of some of the most effective NLP strategies, you can also handle someone who is doing it to you by countering the techniques they use. Instead of being completely influenced and manipulated by them, you can use certain tactics, one of which is presupposition that requires you to use statements implying something even if you do not say it explicitly. Fight this technique by questioning or rejecting the presupposition. A good manipulator may also use meta-models that refer to questions challenging your logic or language. Countering this technique is possible by using meta-models too. You may also want to stop yourself from providing unclear answers. There are also times when the manipulator utilizes abstract or unclear language as a means of appealing to your feelings and emotions or by bypassing your logic and critical thinking. Handling this technique used against you by using the same models too, you should also begin asking for additional and more specific details. The goal for countering the NLP strategies used against you for mind control, influence, and manipulation is to resist it. This is necessary if you want to retain your position and perspective. Build boundaries. One more thing that you can do if you want to stop manipulative people from using NLP strategies to control and influence you is to be clear about your boundaries. Return to your established boundaries, the ones you set to yourself, and encourage yourself to stick with them. The boundaries we are talking about here refer to the rules and restrictions you established and created for yourself as well as the other party, especially if you are in the process of negotiating something. Some examples of these boundaries are the interests, expectations, principles, goals, options, criteria, standards, values, responsibilities, rights, and walk-away points you have initially agreed upon. You need to go back to these restrictions so you can immediately detect if someone is attempting to control you. By establishing and stating your boundaries again and sticking to them, you can convey your needs and wants to the other party more confidently and clearly. In addition, this move prevents the other from crossing the lines and violating your established restrictions and rights. Conclusion. Mind control and manipulation may sound scary and unethical, but it is something that you can actually do with proper guidance and knowledge about the field. The most important thing you should do if you intend to use it in areas of your life that require you to have full control of the situation is to practice both while still sticking to ethical standards. As much as possible, do not do it to cause irreparable damage to someone. You have to be a responsible user and implementer of mind control and manipulation tactics. I hope that this book can help you make that happen. Hopefully, it gave you some enlightenment in the world of mind control and manipulation, uncovering its secrets and how to make it work in your favor while still considering the safety of your subject or target. The contents of this book also aim to help you catch anyone who is attempting to abuse you through manipulation and mind control. With that, you can surely immediately set up a defense against them and ensure that no one can exploit and take advantage of you.
We appreciate you tuning in to one of our captivating audiobooks. For more immersive experiences, here is another audiobook we're certain you'll enjoy. Don't forget to show your support by liking this video, sharing what you loved about this audiobook in the comments section below, and subscribing for more captivating audiobooks like this. Thanks for being a part of our audiobook community.